Welcome to the PT Marketing Power Hour, highlighting successful marketing strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. We have another great episode today, so don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, here's your host, physical therapist, marketing expert, and CEO of Practice Promotions, Neil Trickett.
Hello and welcome to the PT Marketing Power Hour, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to talk about how to market to patients with email. So email marketing, and we're really thankful to have Kelsey Anderson with us here. She's an operations manager at Rising Sun Physical Therapy in San Francisco, and Kelsey's going to download to us tips and tricks that she's found in working with email out to her patients and how that's been going in her clinic. So Kelsey, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Neil.
Excellent. Great. So can you tell us a little bit about your role at Rising Sun Physical Therapy?
Yeah, so as you said, I'm the operations manager at Rising Sun Physical Therapy. We are a small practice, so I wear many hats, from hiring, overseeing employees, marketing, billing, all of that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got to wear all those hats, right? All those different things. Know how that goes. So yeah, we've been working together through Practice Promotions and Rising Sun for about 3 years now, right? So right just after the pandemic started. So just a couple questions here. When you were looking at this, like, why did you decide, to start with marketing and investing more in marketing, at the beginning of that kind of pandemic when things are going kind of crazy?
Yeah, well, our website needed some updating. And we also just wanted our patients to know that we are still there for them and we are still a resource available always. The pandemic hugely affected everyone, and we wanted to be able to keep sending out touch points and letting our patients and community know that we're there for them. And just because we're in this huge pandemic and things were changing on a daily basis doesn't mean that individuals' pain or injuries go away.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember one of our messaging at that time was going off what is a kind of standard business model from a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and that's the business recovery curve. And so whenever there's an emergency, that the pandemic was a major emergency, but it could even be just something like finances aren't doing that great in the business, or maybe you lost a big referral source, or whatever it may be. There is that in that business recovery curve, if you continue to market, right, your business during that tough time and actually double down on your marketing and really, increase your efforts, you can recover a lot faster from that emergency situation. Whereas those practices and businesses that withdrew, right, and try to, kind of shrink during that time just to kind of, weather the storm, they have a lot longer recovery on that. So that's kind of the business recovery model is, you got to go after it in terms of marketing during that time. And like you said, you got to really keep connected with people in this time of uncertainty. So you absolutely did the right thing there. And, I'd imagine from that you were able to, in that, part of the year, be able to bounce back from that initial, close down.
Yes. It's so important to market when your business is in jeopardy or anything's happening in the world around you, just as important as it is when your business is thriving and you feel like you cannot handle any more capacity of patients. You still don't want to ever waver on that marketing. That needs to be steadfast always. And so continuing to market and having those touch points out there to let everyone know what was going on with Rising Sun made it so we could help people as much as we could from a distance when the pandemic and the shutdown initially happened, and then really keep everyone updated as we were starting to figure out the whole telehealth situation and getting insurances to pay for that, and then also getting people back in the clinic safely as well.
Yeah. So great job and bouncing back there. And that was a very trying time for, I'm sure, for Rising Sun and for many other businesses out there. And so let's talk here a little bit about, one of the parts of marketing, right, which is email marketing, right? And we're all familiar with email marketing, but for you, like with Rising Sun Physical Therapy, why do you find email marketing to your customer list works?
I find it works because everyone is on their phone, their computers, things like that, versus the paper version. People move and they're not always in the same location, but everyone usually checks their phone multiple times a day. And it is the best and easiest way to keep patients updated on anything. From this past year, we moved from the 5th floor to the 8th floor of our building, and to let everyone know about that so they go to the right place. And then to anything such as, hey, we're offering this, or just check out these important things to know. And that way, just everyone can see on a daily basis and weekly what is going on.
Gotcha. And about how many people do you actually have on your email list that you've been emailing to?
We have just under 4,000 people on our email list.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's a big audience, right, that you're tapping into right there.
Yes. And that we keep updated to make sure that if people unsubscribe or are no longer interested, or if they've passed away, things like that, that is always updated. So that's like a true number of who is actually receiving and opening those.
Yeah, that's amazing. One of the things I've found talking to like thousands of practice owners over the decades is that it's amazing. Like we do such a great job with our patients, and then we discharge them, and then we automatically assume that, hey, they were happy, they had a great experience here, they're going to come back. Like we have that assumption, and for some people they do, right? But for a lot of patients, they don't necessarily make the connection maybe a year or 2 years in the future that they should come back for care, right? If something happens to them, or if they see a loved one or a friend or family member that could use some help, like they're bombarded with marketing messages all day, right? And activities and things going on in their world, so they don't necessarily think about you when it comes to that. So if you're out of sight, you're kind of out of mind for the most part. But being able to connect with your customer list, with your past patients, that really is I've always said it's the key to your business, the growth of your business. And because they know you and they like you, right? And your job is just to keep them liking you, right? And keep them informed and see you as the experts to turn to when they need some help, right? Or someone they know needs some help. So that's really kind of the objective there. And so as you've worked on lots of different types of email campaigns, is there kind of like main areas that you tend to focus on to get the best possible results from email marketing?
Yeah. So along with reaching out to those older patients, we automatically send out emails, I think every 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2, etc., of past patients, asking them, hey, how are you doing? If you have a new pain or injury that comes up, we're here to let them know. And it's personalized and specific. So it's not just that mass email makes them go, oh, wait, they are thinking about me, which we want them to know we are always there. We always want to help. So that is a big one. And then for email, as long as you're making it personal and including the physical therapist and customizing is huge. Everyone wants to see a familiar face when they open an email. They don't want to see stock images of random individuals that they don't know. And that way it helps them really open them. I try to stay away from the taglines kind of from the 90s and the 2000s where you go, hey, are you experiencing this kind of pain? Well, let me know what we can do to help. I try to steer away from that and really keep it short and sweet and let them know what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah, that's such great advice. The personalization is key, right? To
Yeah.
getting the best possible results. And I in email, the marketing side for email, I think there's a couple different ways. One is that, you've got that kind of more mass marketing email where it's informative, you're trying to give some tips, some advice. And then there's that personalized side of it where I think that's a fantastic thing where it looks like it's coming from their therapist to remind them, hey, how are you doing? I'd love to hear from you. And I'm sure you're surprised sometimes at the responses that you get back from that type of short, personalized type email.
Yeah, even a happy birthday email. The
Mhm.
responses we get from that are so fulfilling, just people feeling seen and heard and thought about.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Um, you mentioned something too, like in terms of like the headlines and the type of headlines that you put. And I think there's kind of three main things that we like to really look at when it comes to results from email marketing. And one, first off, like you were just mentioned, is really that message of that email. The subject line is really critical. What's going to get someone to look like it's personalized, what they're going to want to open it, and that's what's going to help you get better results. And then how do you craft that subject line, because that's really the first thing that we see on our phones is who's it from and what's the subject line. And it can, if it's too long, sometimes we don't get that all. It's better to have it a little bit shorter, maybe like up to 6 words in that sentence. And so we're trying to get them to open it, right? And then the other action is once they've opened it, how do we get them to take some sort of action, right? Whether maybe you're going to click on something or maybe call from it or respond back to the email. Like, what's your call to action within the email? So, the message, the subject line, and the actual, intent of the message itself is what helps get the results for that. So you've obviously got some different audiences here that you send email marketing out to. What are kind of some of the email campaigns that you've created for Rising Sun PT?
Yeah, so we always do monthly emails that are newsletters that are very broad and just let everyone know any updates that are going on and give them some important information about a body part or things like that. And then um this past month, Rising Sun Physical Therapy just hit its 20 years of being in practice.
Oh, great.
And so next month, I am putting together a patient appreciation week with a luncheon at the end of the week. And so I will be using that platform to be able to get all that information out to everyone, past, current patients, and invite them to come and have that lunch with us.
That's fantastic. Yeah, congratulations, 20 years.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a wonderful thing to like really promote, right? It's a great event that's coming up. I'm sure you get a lot of loyal patients who would, come attend that luncheon, but we got to make sure they're aware of it, right? And that's where email marketing can help us at a low cost, get that info out. And then you mentioned too about newsletters. I think that's really, key. A big part of what we try to help practices see is that doing a monthly practice newsletter is really key to just telling that stories, telling the information that's happening within the clinic on a monthly basis, and keep that connection going with that customer list, right? So there's all kinds of office updates. Someone might have got a new certification. There's different staff spotlights. You definitely would be telling the stories from within the clinic, the patient successes and the testimonials that people are, achieving in there. It gets people to say, you know what, I need to go back and take care of my knee again, right? Or something like that. And then you mentioned like different body parts. So one of the things that we see there is that someone may have come in for therapy, say for their knee, but they didn't realize you treated back or neck problems. So now they see, a newsletter about a back and back treatments that you do, or neck and neck treatments that you do, and they realize like, oh wow, I had a good experience there before. I didn't realize that they treated back, so let me contact them because my back's hurting. So lots of opportunities that can be created, again, with that kind of low-hanging fruit of your customer list. And then there's some great examples too of using that for like those events and promotions that you're trying to do within the clinic there. So for you, obviously you've been doing this for a little while here. What kind of results do you typically see from your email marketing?
So I speak with my practice promotions team once a month. So I get the data from them, and then they also inform me of the relation to the general groupings of others' results. And we get probably about 40% of people to open our emails, which is above
Wow.
standard.
Yeah.
And so that's really great. And I would say between all of our email marketing and things like that, we bring back 10 to 20 past patients a month. And we're a small practice, so that's a large number of our patients being reactivated.
Yeah, that's awesome. And especially with just email marketing alone, that's a really low cost, right? Per lead,
Yeah.
per patient coming back. So that's amazing. And like you mentioned too, the open rate, that's key, right? And there's different factors that go into open rates. And what people don't realize is that, email marketing can be quite complex, especially on the back end. So there's how the email is put together, subject lines depend on that. But when it comes to actually putting the email in someone's inbox, email gets sent out from a server that actually goes to a network of other servers. And then those other servers know your reputation on like a daily basis. And so if they say, hey, you know what? These guys have a good reputation. I'm going to let this email through to this person's inbox. And if you don't have quite such a good reputation, it starts to either reject it completely, so it never even gets to the person's email server, or they tell it, hey, you know what, this might be a junk, right? And it goes to the junk folder or spam folder. So there's a lot that goes into your reputation of email marketing for it to get the best possible results. So the systems are really critical to actually getting those emails in people's inboxes, because you want to have systems that have trustworthiness and continue to operate on a trustworthy basis with those email servers to let the emails through. So if you're not quite getting very good open rates, like if your open rates are in the 20s, you might need to look at other systems that can help you get more out of that. So if you have a list of say 1,000 patients that you could be emailing to, and you reach 20%, that's only 200 patients. Right. But if you could double that to 40%, like you're getting now, that's an extra 200 patients that are receiving your email, a total of 400. So it does make a big difference at the end of the day in your deliverability of emails, as well as your messaging and all the things that go into your email. So let's talk a little bit about that. Have you experimented with some different subject lines?
I've done a lot. So I, like most people, or some people, don't love change. And I was with Practice Promotions when you guys had the old email server templates, and you guys introduced your platform Engage probably about a year ago. I could be wrong.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
And it has been great. I love that on the side, it shows you, as you talk about the trustability of your emails going out to people and whether it lands in their inbox or in their junk. Engage has statistics right there that let you know if you added a link in your email or a photo or words that might hurt you or ping you down for those deliverability. And that's really helpful to make sure that they're going out to the right individuals. Mm-hmm. And then also as a business, you have to have the unsubscribe always as a part of your email and things like that. And the intricacies of getting all of that set up is a special skill set that the general population doesn't have. And so with Engage, it's so nice that there's all those templates set up for you. All I have to do is go and click, hey, this one looks kind of the route I want to go for today. And it's all already in there for me, and I can just customize it to my needs. And that way I feel more confident with it going out and reaching everyone. And in regards to subject lines, I find the best results if it is personalized and short and sweet and relevant and intriguing, as long as it makes people kind of wonder and be like, oh, this seems like something I'd be interested in. That seems to be helpful as well.
Great advice. Great advice. And you're right. Yeah, you want to make it a little bit of a mystery, right? So they're going to have to want to open the email to read it, but at the same time, not clickbait, right? And if you're kind of being false about what's in the email, that's going to turn people off, right? They'll unsubscribe. But if it's kind of fun, humorous things that might be done in a way that's intriguing, they're more likely to open that. And I think you brought up a great point there about when bringing it back to email deliverability. So we want to get into the maximum number of mailboxes that we can. And when it comes to that, you can actually ding yourself if you put a bad word in that can be on these scanners type of hit lists. So for example, like if you have free in the subject line, that's a no-no, right? That can really hurt you. So you might have like, hey, we're going to offer free patient exams or free consults or something like that for a special you're doing. Well, putting free in your subject line could actually really hurt you in terms of that email going through, as well as future emails too. So there's little nuances to that, and making sure that you have those right phraseology in there. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And so now that we've obviously worked hard to get that subject line just right, so they're going to open the email. But now let's talk about some of the emails that you put together that help with generating clicks or reaches back in or appointments. What kind of success have you had there?
That success has been helpful with the new platform. And even with the newsletters from Practice Promotions, they've become more digitized as well, where that clickability is so much more easily accessible for those opening the emails from us. And so we always make sure we have request an appointment multiple places on the email, and also multiple areas where they can click to go to our website, and keeping that website updated for anything that a person might be looking for to decide if they want to use your clinic or not.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, because let's face it, we're looking at how people behave when they open an email, and what we're trying to get them to do, which is take action. And so as they're reading that email, some people, they like, here's how we normally physiologically like go through content, right? First, we look at the main title, right? Is the title going to captivate us enough to read on? If it does, we look at supporting imagery, and then, okay, that looks cool, let me read on. Typically, then we skim like what we call subheaders. So those kind of like fatter bits of content to see, okay, what do I really need to know out of this? And if that looks good, then we go back to usually like the first sentence and start to read through that. So that's kind of like our physiological way of reading. And if you craft your emails that way, you have to have that compelling title, image, supporting imagery, compelling subheaders, and then that compelling first or two sentences to your email. That's how you get the best response out of it. But let's face it, we're all busy, and especially like on a phone, things like that, as we're scrolling, skimming through things. Some people might read the very top and then never make it further down. So if you just put your call to action, like, hey, go read our blog, or click here for an appointment, or whatever your thing is, call to action is at the bottom, well, you're probably missing out on those people that just skim at the top. Whereas they might like, oh yeah, I remember that place. They're good. Or what, this is interesting. You know what? I should maybe check them out again about my knee. And if they don't quite click that button that's near the top, you kind of miss that opportunity. So I love that you brought that up, that you have multiple requests for appointments in there, or clicks to more information through that. So it's great to hear that.
Yes, I feel like you generally have the group of people who are just skimming the very brief top, and they want access to be able to click and request that appointment or go to our website right then and there. And then you have those individuals that want all the information absolutely possible. And so to have that again at the bottom makes it so both of those audiences have access to that easily.
Yeah, I love that you're really looking at that. So the email is a big part of getting results, but we've also got to send it to the right people. And this is where it comes into the list, right? The list of people that you're sending this email to. And there's work that goes into that, right? There's management of that list. And can you tell us a little bit about some of the processes that you have to do in terms of making sure you have a good email list?
Yeah. So with that, again, Engage is very helpful because it stores all your lists for you right there at your fingertips. So when you go in and create your email template. You just have to choose, hey, do I want to send it to this group, that group, or the other?
Mhm.
And for that, we see patients for many different issues. We treat orthopedic at our clinic, but we also treat pelvic floor, lymphedema, and more specialized little niche groups like that. So being able to have a master database of patients, but then also be able to separate them on what may be of greater interest to them and be more relevant to them is very helpful. And that seems to really help with that clickability and that open rate as well.
Absolutely. That's great because you're taking the right market and the right message and matching those together, right? So that's wonderful to hear. So in your list, you've actually broken those out a lot more by not just the general patient population, but you've broken them out by condition. Is that what you've done in there?
Not super specific, like ortho, we do general as ortho, but we see a good amount of pelvic floor patients. So we have that as a separate list as well.
Yeah, that's great. And so wherever you can, I mean, the more you can, and that's what comes back to the kind of the types of emails that you would send out. So like maybe a mass informational type email could go out to everybody. So you want to have everybody in the main list, but then if you can create sub lists of specialty groups, you can send them more specific types of, educational emails. So women's health program, or say you have a TMJ program or something like that, that'll get very high engagement rate. So that does two things. One, you're actually engaging with those people specific to their problem. They're going to want to come back in, or they may have someone they know that has that particular problem. But from the email deliverability side of things too, if you have a very specific list of customers with a specific problem and you give them a specific type of email, they're going to have a very high open rate on that type of email. And that helps your overall reputation too for sending all the other types of emails. So it's a great process that you've put in place there to really try to segment your email list and give those types of different types of emails to them. I think it's fascinating for me as I talk to so many practice owners, how there's quite a lot that don't even do any email marketing to their patients. But you ask them like, hey, how many you've been in business 10 years, like how big's your email list? And they've got 10,000 people or something in their email list, and they haven't sent anything to them ever, right? Or maybe in many years. And so they're really losing out on that opportunity to again keep connected with their patients. And that's really the fundamental of things, right? Is keeping connected with your patients. I'm curious, do you do anything else to do like promotions or things to your past patient list?
We don't do anything specific to our past patient list because we have been so busy. But in the past, if we do have a lull or things like that, where we do need to increase our patient intake, we will offer, hey, like have a free phone, not free, but free. You don't want to use the word,
Right.
and have a conversation with your physical therapist over the phone or this or that to let them know that we're still there and kind of get them back in that way.
Yeah, that's great. And so I'm curious, have you done anything in terms of like reactivation phone calls or anything like that?
We don't do reactivation phone calls. Our main thing is the emails that go out sequentially throughout time after they've been discharged to let them know, hey, if you're experiencing anything, reach out.
Yeah, that's great. And like you said, you're super busy, right? So there's only so much need that you need to produce. One thing I did in my practice, which was pretty successful, is we had like a tech or an aide help out with this. And basically we took our customer list and split that up over 3 months. And then every month there was somebody split down into how many calls they had to make a week out of this list. So they would basically just make so many calls a week in their time when they had a little bit of downtime, and they would just be saying, hey, just checking in on you, everything okay? Is you still doing your home exercise program? And they would often say, oh, I lost that, can you send me a copy? Sure, it's right here in the chart, let me just send that over to you. And then usually there might be a few that just say, hey, you know what, my knee started hurting again. Oh, let me connect you with your therapist, and they can have a chat with you. So there was a great opportunity to just keep that really good customer service with them, that they felt like, hey, what they were hearing from the clinic just seeing how they were doing, and that led to other opportunities as they got going.
We do send out handwritten letters to patients about 6 weeks after they're discharged from their physical therapist to ask them those questions, to make them know, hey, it's only been a few weeks. We know that, but we want to make sure that things are good. And because some people, I feel like they get discharged from physical therapy and they think, oh, they let me go, I can't go back. We want them to know, just because you are done for now doesn't mean you're done for good, and doesn't mean we aren't still a resource for you.
Absolutely, right. And that's the perception that you're just trying to create. And I remember like some of the therapists that we had, you had to train and coach them, that they would say, oh, I'm so glad you're recovered, you're doing great, you're fantastic, you're going to be totally fine. I hope I never have to see you again. And you're like, what did you say? Like, no, like you're like a dentist, right? You're there for them whenever they need you for, pain or problem in the future. So you just let them know, like, hey, I'm here for you. If if anything comes back, like, please call me right away. Come on back in. We're here for you always. Things happen in the future, but you're always welcome to come back in, right? We'll take a look at you. So if the patient knows that, and then you reinforce it with a handwritten letter, like you're doing, that's amazing. That creates that really rich experience where you're going to get people wanting to come back for care when they need it. And I think what you're doing really good there too is that we know how important it is to continuously market to our customer list, right? That's our gold mine in our practice. But it's how we market to them and how we reach them. So there's the message part of it, right? We know that we got the right audience, right? And then if there's the message part of it, that you're crafting all different types of, information that's useful to them. And then there's the media side of it. So what media are you using to connect with them? And so I think we've been conditioned in today's world to think that everything is completely digital, right? And we have to be, on the latest cutting technology, that kind of stuff, which is not really true. We need to be able to have touch points with our customers in many different ways. So because people look at things on their phone, they'll look at things in their mail, they might pick up a phone call or read a text message. So we have to reach people in many different ways today than we used to in the past. And so if you're not necessarily tapping into like a physical letter that goes out to someone, or a postcard or a newsletter that's direct mail, then you're missing out on parts of your audience that you're trying to reach. So you can imagine if someone receives that great email from you, they're thinking, you know what, I need to do something about my, my back again, right? But then they get something else related to that a few days later in their mailbox. Wow, you just reinforced the behavior of really coming back in. So you have to have all these layers of multimedia marketing, and that's where that kind of comes from, that we're trying to reach these people in many different ways. So that's as far as our audience out there, if you're thinking about, first off, you should be marketing to your customer list, but realize that we want to do email marketing, but we also want to see where there's other opportunities in text, print, direct mail, phone calls, all those other avenues that we have.
And I think another thing with that is important for people to realize is that it is great, and our goal is for them to read the content we are sending in whatever platform we are sending it out. But just them seeing your name and just reading the name of your practice is such a huge thing to get out there. Because if they are constantly seeing your name, you are going to be in their mind if something comes up and they need help.
Absolutely. What a great point there, Kelsey. And that comes back to the branding part of it, right? So really, if you think about branding, what that really means is that it's how people think about you when you're not there, right? That's what it comes back to. So you want to have them still thinking highly of your practice, right? And the great care that they got there. And so, like you said, even just having that recognition of the name, the logo, the information that they receive, it's being at the right time in the right place always. And so you get that ability to connect with individuals. Whereas if you don't do that, you're kind of get more out of sight, out of mind. For a lot of people, again, you'll get like an okay amount of people come back who will, they got to that point where it was so bad they really need to come back and see you. but there's so many others that could be seeing you, again, if you just did a little bit more marketing to that. So for you, Kelsey, in working on this marketing end here for Rising Sun Physical Therapy, are there any other marketing initiatives that you've seen be especially effective for you?
For us, it really is just the consistency, making sure that you never lack in it, the relatability. Of course, everyone is going to like if they feel they are getting something out of an email, whether they're getting a product or an item or time or knowledge. That is basically how we make sure that everyone is always reading our information.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And we've had the pleasure of working with you here for 3 years. How has your experience been with Practice Promotions?
Practice Promotions has been really great in making sure our website is up to date. You need to make sure that you are constantly changing and updating your website. You want to make sure that your pictures are updated with your current staff and any information is readily available there. So that's really helpful. I just send a request via your guys' Basecamp and it is taken care of for me, which is so very helpful. And then also the fact that you have a smaller number of people on your team, but you have a large number of people who oversee and can see what's going on. So if you need something, there's always someone available to reach out and respond to you. Mm-hmm. But I really want to emphasize Kayla, who's on my team at Practice Promotions. She is the most helpful human being alive, and her responsiveness and action is always so quick and wonderful. And even if I make silly mistakes, she's like, I got it covered. I took care of it.
I will definitely pass that along to her. Thank you so much for mentioning her. And yeah, she's wonderful. And thanks for the download there on your experience too. I mean, one thing that we really try to help practice with, because it's so busy in your practice, like you're wearing so many hats, as you mentioned earlier. And from the marketing side of things, there's lots of things to coordinate, right? And you can't do everything all yourself, right? And so that's where you can leverage like a marketing agency like we are to help you with the technology side of things. So, websites, SEO, Google advertising, and the content, right? Email marketing. So there's a lot of things too that you're doing within the clinic, but you also have specialists and people to help you with that. So we always focus on strategy, the systems, and the specialists to help the clinics be the most successful with their marketing. So I love to hear that success from within your clinic. So Kelsey, any last thoughts here for our audience in terms of marketing their practice?
Just never stop marketing. Keep it going, whether you think an email is not as important or necessary as other emails. Just keep sending everything out.
Fantastic. That is very sage advice. Thank you so much, Kelsey. We really appreciate you being on the call with us today and sharing your knowledge and the things that you've been doing within Rising Sun Physical Therapy to be successful with your email marketing. So thanks for that. And to our audience out there, wishing you much success in your practice. And any questions you have about email marketing, just shoot us a question over and we'll help you with that. So thanks, Kelsey. We appreciate you being on the call.
Thanks so much, Neil.
Thanks again for joining us today. Be sure to check out practicepromotions.net/power. There, listeners can download over 9 checklists and free resources made to coach you through simple, proven marketing actions to increase new patients. So check it out today. That's practicepromotions.net/power, and I'll see you next time.